And next, grey divorce is on the rise, but why are so many older couples calling it quits? Plus the reality of being single later in life. We're going to check in with a leading relationship therapist next up for you. Welcome back to the show. I'm still a bit confused after that last segment, but I'm getting my head around it. Well, last week, the world's collective heart was smashed into 1,000 pieces after Hugh Jackman and Deborah Lee Furness announced they were separating after 27 years of marriage. And they're not alone. Recent statistics show that the divorce rate of people over 50 is on the rise.
Coined grey divorce, what's behind this trend of people calling it quits later in life? And how can you deal with the fallout from breaking up after so many years of sharing your life with someone else?
And we welcome back to the show psychiatrist and relationship therapist, Dr. George Blair-West. Good morning, nice to see you again. Why are so many couples splitting later in life?
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me back. Yeah, we've got a big issue here, particularly for my wife, because Hugh was the biggest heartthrob of her entire life. And now he's available. She's thinking about having a go, but of course that means she's got to let me go. So she's in a quandary right now. But the big issue here is that as we get older now, and people are, I think, becoming generally more thoughtful, they look to their partner to see whether their partner is a burden or a bonus. As they get older, this becomes much clearer. If you're entering your golden years and a time where health and self-care becomes a bigger issue, and you've got to care for somebody who is actually not returning that care for you, then you start to think very carefully about whether or not you want to grow old with somebody.
Right. What about the idea of it being contagious? Like, people may have looked up to Deborah Lee and Hugh and go, oh my God, I thought they all had it together. If they can separate, well, maybe it's okay if we do too.
Yeah, it's an unusual situation because they, particularly Hugh, he's spoken at length about his love for his wife, and to see that break up does really shake things up a bit. And I guess it gets people to think, again, more carefully, as we tend to do as we get older, we work out what's important, whether or not we're in the right space.
So separating your life after decades together can be this massive task. You're probably going to share a house, you've got the same circle of friends, or your finances are interweaved. Where do you start with this?
Yeah, I actually suggest that we take a step back a little bit. I get people to start when they're looking at this by really looking at having a trial separation, because we blokes in particular are really bad at projecting into the future what it's going to be like when we lose our partner. And so I really encourage the couples I work with, particularly because this is often up to the woman who's driving this, because they have a much better sense of how the future will unfold. I really encourage them to have a separation early on, a trial separation, before the woman in particular, or most often, dismantles her love. And that often brings them back together. And that was the key sort of issue that I found in working with these couples. Because if somebody goes and has an affair, which is a good way to end a relationship, it's very difficult to come back from that. So what I'm really doing with these couples is trying to get them to go to a trial separation where they separate, get an experience of what it's like before they actually move on.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Also, they've been together for so long, isn't it worth trying to make it work out? You've got 35, 40 years invested in it. It's worth perhaps giving it 6 months to try and figure it out, or not.
In particular, it's about, this is a situation where you've really got to go and see a counsellor who does, an experienced couple therapist, and say, look, let's give this one last shot. If there's one time anybody in the world should seek therapy, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's going to rock a lot of people, right? Going to shake up the relationship between parents and in-laws and perhaps children, even adult children. Any advice to navigating this very tricky terrain?
Yeah, 4 rules. Rule number 1, do not criticise the other parent and run them down. You've got to remember, they are the child's other parent, their mother or their father. Rule number 2, do not get the children to choose between one or other of the parents. They will not forgive you for that down the track. And rule number 3, see rule number 1, and rule number 4, see rule number 2.
Dating has changed a lot over the years. What's your advice for maybe newly single older people who, in time, may want to get back out there?
Yes. The oldest woman I've treated to re-partner is a 72-year-old woman. My daughter, who is a dating coach who co-authored the book with me in this space, her oldest patient, I think, was about 73. And what we do with these people is we look to both the online, well, there is actually online services for the older folks, but they tend not to be comfortable in that space. And so we also get them to just get more involved, because there's lots of mature aged people out there who are much clearer on what they want in a relationship. And most importantly, they've got to understand, so often people get discouraged because they think they're old and not as attractive as they used to be. Attraction, physical attraction, is something that young people use to calibrate who they should be attracted to, and boys who never grow up. But mature folks, they recognise that what we're looking for in a partner is maturity, is wisdom, is the things that comes with ages, and particularly somebody who can bring that to a caring relationship. And I think there's an opportunity for people to do a better job the second time around than they did the first time, because often romantic love drove them into a relationship that probably didn't have a long-term future at some level.
All right, George, very interesting chat this morning. Nice to talk to you again. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And you can read more about relationships in Dr. George Blair-West's book. It's called The Biggest Decision of Your Life.
Well, soon for you.